You are tuned into LadyByrd Live. I am an activist and motivational speaker whose purpose is to spread the awareness of HIV. This podcast is about the education of HIV and AIDS and other STDs that people are afraid to discuss and address. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be educated. Hey, you guys. So I thought that what I would do is leave you with one final podcast episode for 2022. Um, this year has been one that has been quite interesting, to say the least. um, so going into this year, I didn't know what to expect. I knew this year was going to be the 15th year that I've been diagnosed as being HIV positive. I had no idea what to really expect. I didn't know how I would feel when November came. I didn't know how I react to certain things. I didn't even know what was to come for the year. So this year started off with um, me turning 39 in April, the twins turning 14, um, me going through my real first year having an adult child, and just experiencing a lot of firsts. We also experienced this summer going to the Family Cafe Conference in Orlando. This is a conference they have every year for families of children and adults that have special needs and disabilities here in the state of Florida. This event was amazing. The amount of resources that were provided, the amount of things that that happened during this trip, the things we experienced, it was so amazing. The connections we made, meeting different families, meeting other families that have kids like mine. It was just really, really amazing, really, really um, awesome. We got to stay at the Hyatt Regency Orlando Hotel. They had an amazing pool with slides and splash areas. It was so fun. The kids had fun. They had a duck race. They had many opportunities to win door prizes. I mean, so many opportunities. We got to meet Zion, who is the young man who was born with no legs. We have his book with his autograph on it. His name's Zion. What is this? Zion Clark, I believe is his name, Zion Clark. And that was just so amazing. We got pictures with him. And the experience was just one that I can't wait to experience next year. Next year is going to be their 25th anniversary of having this annual event, and we are going to be there. Now, moving forward, what a lot of people don't know is that um, for almost, for literally over a year, almost a year, I had not received any financial assistance with the twins from their father. Um, so that means no child support was coming in from September up until just recently, this past September. And I got a letter in the mail that said, hey, um, we're seeing him in contempt, and we're requesting that he pay us X amount of dollars for the child support that he has not paid, and if not, then he's going to go to jail. And we're going to have a court date scheduled. It was in August. And you can come, but just know if you don't come, whatever decision is made by the courts, I would have to be okay with that decision. I would have no say so. And so that was kind of paraphrasing, of course. And me being the person I am, you guys know, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a huge advocate for my kids, whether it's for their disability or school or whatever it is. I'm always going to be an advocate for them. And I said, you know what? This is a school day. Let me get some things in order, because if I don't go to this court date and they decide whatever they're going to decide is because I did not step in as the parent who's actually taking care of them full time, who's in the home with them 24/7, who's doing all of the things solely by myself, especially for that whole year. And so I got everything situated. My oldest daughter, um, she took time off work. She went with me, and I left at 2 o'clock in the morning. The court date was at 8 a.m. I left at 2 a.m. I wanted to leave in enough time that I had time not only to drive, but to also stop before I got there, got some food, and got time to sit there at least an hour before I ever needed to get out the car to go inside. And so that's what I did. By the time we got there and parked in the parking lot to the courthouse, it was 7 a.m. They didn't open the doors till 8 a.m. That experience was my first time ever seeing him in 15 years. I had not seen him, had not physically seen him, pictures, um, having cordial conversations with him. Yeah, throughout those years, but to physically be in his presence, had not done that in 15 years. And I think what really triggered me in that moment was not that I saw him, was the fact that the same woman that you cheated on me with, gotten pregnant, and she had her child while we were married. I think that her being there with him to this court date that had absolutely nothing to do with her, I think that is what really, really triggered me and upset me. Like, I literally had to go into the bathroom and say to myself in the mirror, listen, girl, um, you in another state, mind your mouth. You don't want to go to jail, so you need to mind your mouth. Like, I had to give myself this pep talk and say, girl, you cannot, do this. So I made that choice at that moment to only have cordial communication through that moment. So there was no casual conversation. I don't even believe I said, hey, how you doing? I think the only time I parted my mouth in acknowledgement to him at any point was the fact that he held the door open for me as we were done, and I said thank you, and that was it. Um, Through mediation, sitting with the lady, I did give him no eye contact. We literally sat in a moment of awkward silence while she stepped out of the little room to go do whatever she needed to do, get some documents off the printer and come back. There was no eye contact, no communication, no words exchanged, no nothing. And I was glad of that, because I don't know what I would have said. But I think I was just really upset the fact that she was there. Why are you there? Are you providing any financial funds for my kids for him? Like, this is all I'm caring about at this moment, because again, I've been doing this with my kids for 14 years, and then off and on with him paying the child support, and then me solely doing it for a whole year with nothing coming in. But here you are in a household with a woman who you had a child with while you were married to me. And without a doubt, I'm pretty sure that this child is being very well taken care of by you and the mother. It's just one of those things where, damned if you do, damned if you don't at that point. So I just did what I need to do for my kids. And that was that. So that moment happened. And then also, to back up a little bit, um, coming into 2022, I had been in a relationship with someone since 2020. So this was actually um the second, yeah, 2 years. We hit 2 years before June. And I'll never forget the date, because it was the day before my mother's birthday. It was June the 11th. And No, June 12th, I'm sorry. It was June the 12th, and this conversation, it was just, I started feeling tension rising throughout the months. Like you can tell things were changing, things were happening, and it was just really one of those things where, you know, like what's really going on. And so I yeah, I know it sounds like I'm trying to think because it's one of those things where it's like, wow. But so we had this moment where, like I said, I just started noticing little things. I started picking up on little signs and little just just some things that just didn't seem right. Okay. And so I had always heard people talk about narcissism and people being narcissists and things of that nature. So I started actually paying attention to that. I started listening to people talk about how they've experienced a narcissist and how they've picked up signs and just all that different stuff. And so I'm sitting here and like, wow, this sounds very familiar to me currently. Because, of course, the first year of us being in our relationship, everything was fine. I was traveling back and forth to Oakland, California, and everything was great. But then here we come into, 2022, and I, the last time I went there was 2021. Here it is 2022. I was like, okay, I think I want to try to go there for one of our birthdays. My birthday's in April, his was in May. And I'm thinking to myself, I think I want to take the trip. And so I was actually, before the year came in, I was making plans. I was like, okay, probably want to make, you know, but something kept stopping me. Every time I got ready to go look at flights, got ready to check on stuff, flights were changing, prices were going up, and things were kind of just making me halt. And so eventually I, we have this conversation. He's taking an online class. He's talking about how he's misunderstanding the due dates for assignments. Instead of it's being due at midnight, it's being due at noon. And, in some ways, he's making it like it's my fault. Like I caused him to misread or misunderstand when his assignment, that I don't even know what it is or how to do it, is due. And then just other things. It's like, oh, I'm taking out of my time, taking time to sit here and talk to you. Like it just became this whole big old thing of, well, you did this, or you did this, or this is because of you, or this is because of this and this and this. And so, he said to me, so I hadn't heard from him. So I texted him and I said, "Is everything okay?" And he's like, I'm just mad. I'm just upset." So I'm like, okay. I knew I hadn't really talked to him. So in my thought process, I mean, I know that I could not have, done anything because I hadn't talked to him. You got to talk to somebody to make them upset about something, right? So that was my thought process, and I am just sitting there, and I'm just again clueless, and I still get no response. So finally, I just, had to say my good nights and everything I used to say, and then the next day, um, I get this message, and I'm going to read you exactly what it says, and then I'll explain. He says, "I'm just pissed at myself mostly. Ever since my class, I realized how far I have fallen in my discipline, in my patience, and how much weight I have gained. How argumentative I have, um, to come to the amount of weed I consume has quadrupled ever since I started talking to you. I saw it happening, which is why I asked you to work on the schedule with me. Then it started to seem like you didn't give a shit about my progress as long as you got what you wanted. That class showed me the damage that has been done, and I'm attempting to correct that. I'm turning off my notifications and living in my conversation until I get my shit back on track. 2 years of my life, and I am 30 pounds heavier. Spent 50 to $60 more and weed, and no 75% less than I did after that realization. It has been so taxing on me mentally. I have been working on I have been working out nonstop just to get the anger out. As much as you said you don't want to use force, that's all you use, and it seems like I'm the only one paying for it. All right, so he's talking about consuming more marijuana, weed than normal. So he's in California. That's his thing. That's not my thing. And he has a medical marijuana card for it. And so that's what he's talking about. He was buying more weed than normal, I guess. That has nothing to do with me. I'm in Florida. I'm not in California every single day in your face. I'm talking to you on the phone or I'm video chatting. Um, he's talking about working on a schedule. Now, we did discuss times for us to like have our one-on-one conversations, maybe when the kids are at school or after they've gone to sleep. We're on a 3-hour time difference. So that finds its way to be quite difficult because, of course, at 9 p.m., I'm probably ready to lay down and go to bed because I've been up since 5 a.m. 9 a.m. for him is only 6 p.m. So he's not really wanting to not have conversation because it is now at that point still early for him. So I would take time when the kids are at school, maybe 12 or right before they get out of school at 3 p.m. And I would set that time aside to converse with him and to have those moments and those conversations kid free, all of those things. And then of course, again, I was taking trips there. He never paid, he never gave me a dime for a trip. That was all out of my pocket. I paid for my flight. I paid for my Ubers from the airport to his home. Like I did all of that. Nothing about that had him written over it. Okay. Then he's talking about his class again. I'm not the one taking the class. I'm not there to keep you from taking your class or to have any effect on your class. And then he's talking about the weight gain. Again, I'm not there to shove food in your mouth or to tell you, hey, go eat this, stuff this in your mouth, do that, do that, do that. So all of the things that he was saying what was happening to him, but then he would come back and say, you wanted, you did, you this, you did, you that. And it's like, how when I am not there? I'm I'm doing way more stuff over here on my end, taking care of kids and all the stuff that I was doing at the time. Because at that point, I was still taking kids to school and picking them up. So it was like, what do you mean? How am I putting all this strain on you when honestly I don't have the time to even do that to you? Like, you know. And then he's talking about using force. So one thing about me that I've always said is that I like things to flow. I don't want to push things. I don't want to force things to happen. If something is going to happen, I want it to be natural. I want it to flow. And he always said he was the same way. So it was always this thing of, we're going to let it flow. So and that's how it flowed. Initially, we weren't in a relationship. We said we were going to flow. And then when I traveled there to see him for the first time, he said uh, to his dad, oh, this is my girlfriend. Never once had we discussed me being his girlfriend. He presented that to his own father when I was being introduced. And afterwards I said girlfriend. He was like, well, yeah, I feel like that's where we're at now. So that's how we moved into that moment. And then things went into from that moment to us saying and having a discussion of being life partners, that we were going to be together. We both didn't want to get legally married again, but we were saying that we knew we wanted to be together. And so it was a life partner discussion. Now, being someone's life partner also means I'm not going to be your life partner long distance forever. At this point, if we're talking about being life partners, we need to talk about the potential possibilities of me being there, you being here, or us finding somewhere that is where neither one of us are currently at and coming together. So that is what we had started discussing. But then it became a thing of him saying, well, you know, he didn't want to plan anything or he didn't want to talk about it. But my thing is, for me, I can't just jump up at the drop of a dime with four kids, one that's an adult, and say, all right, y'all, we moving here. I have to plan things. I have to check schools. I have to check resources for my two kids with disabilities. I have to make sure that the areas I'm looking at are safe. I have to make sure that there's resources and things in place for me and my kids. And so it's like he wasn't understanding that. So that was becoming an issue as well. So when he sent this text message saying, "Oh, well, I'm just going to take time to myself for me and my conversations." I just said, "You know what? This is it for me. I don't need to have another conversation with him. I don't need to talk to him. It is just time for me to make the decision for both of us to move forward and move on." So I blocked his text messages. I blocked um him being able to contact me on social media, and I moved forward. And it took me literally a whole month, that whole month from the middle of June going into probably the whole month of July. So I guess I could say maybe a month and a half to really get this person out of my system, to really get through the crying moments that I was having, get through the sad and depressing moments that found their ways to me because of this situation. Because it did. I found myself going into depression. I found myself, you know, backpedaling to not taking medications, to doing certain things that I know I should be doing. And I had to come out of that, and I had to just let it go. And so once I did, that is when I just said, you know what? All right, let's go. Let's go, Lady Bird. Let's go, Renee. Let's do what you need to do. Let's get it together. And that's what I've been doing. I've been getting it together. So between that and seeing the twins' dad for the first time in 15 years, I think 2022 has been very adventurous for me. Now, I also got to experience going to Puerto Rico, going off the mainland. They call us over here the mainland. So I got to leave the mainland and go to Puerto Rico to the USCHA conference. Um, and it was amazing. I met so many amazing people. Oh my gosh, I have new brothers and sisters that had I not done this opportunity, I would not have met them. They are amazing. I wouldn't change that experience for the world. I'm so happy to have these people in my life. Um, and that trip was so, 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 so amazing. I got to see parts of San Juan, Puerto Rico, and experience going to their beach, the food, the atmosphere. It was just look, I'm just gonna go start learning some Spanish now because I have to go back. And I have to go back a little bougie with saying some Spanish, because granted, they do know a lot of people come there that don't speak Spanish, so they do speak a lot of English as well. But I want to fit in. I want to go and say, "Hola, cómo está? Muy bien," and all the other stuff that I don't know and probably saying wrong. I want to be able to do that, when I go. So that was an experience for me. And then here now we are in December. It's almost the year's end. And one of the biggest highlights of my year, of this year, 2022, is going to be December 31st, 2022, because that is going to be the day that I will be able to celebrate 1 year of not having an alcoholic beverage. Not because I was a drunk and I was drinking every day and I had to go to AA meetings, because I said, you know what? I want to take control of my health. My diabetes and having that right was very important to me this year. So when my doctor said to me, listen, we got to get this blood sugar in check. You want to get us on this once a week injection? You got to do what you got to do. I said, okay, what I got to do? And I did it. I'm on my once a week Trulicity. Now my next goal, my 2023 goal is to get on the HIV antiretroviral injection medication so that I don't have to take these pills every day. I could just go in there and get shots every month, every 2 months, however, every other month, whatever it is. I want it. I want it. And so that is what I'm looking forward to going into the new year, amongst other things. Can't wait to come back on here in the new year with my podcast with you guys. Um, Although the podcast for this year was short and brief, I hope that you guys have enjoyed the episodes that I've given you so far. I hope that I've been able to enlighten you guys, give you guys information, and answer questions that you might not otherwise have gotten anywhere else. My transparency to you all means a lot. And so I hope that I've been able to be as transparent as possible with you and able to answer questions for you guys. Make sure you are out here following me on all social media platforms. I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Clubhouse. I am on, what else am I on? I'm on AMP Radio app. I am on Fireside Chat. I'm on Wisdom app. I'm all over the place. This podcast is streaming on multiple platforms. It is streaming on Apple, Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It is streaming on Pandora. It's streaming on what else is it? Trying to remember. Google Podcast, Amazon Music. It's all over. So no matter where you're listening, if you put in LadyByrd Live, this podcast is going to come up. So I enjoy you guys so much. Always thank you for listening to this episode. And I will see you guys in the new year.
Hope you enjoyed today's show. Don't forget, you can visit my website, LadyByrdOfficial.com, for more information or to schedule a one-on-one session. Until next time, bye.